welcome to Pedro's Movie Cavern. My name is Pedro, and this is my cavern. Now, about a week ago, Roy from Blue Roy Movies posted a video talking about his favourite films in each genre. And so there would be films covering everything from action, horror, sci-fi, drama, etc., etc. And at the end of the video, he said he'd like to see other people's choices, so either to write them in the comments or do a video response. So this is my video response to that. I think Roy had about 10, I think it was 10 genres. I, being a weird person, decided that 10 wasn't enough. So I have got, I think, in December, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I have 15 different genres. Now, some of these are films that might fit into other genres as well. So, say for instance, I've got a post-apocalyptic genre. Which is more of a subgenre, it's a subcategory of a specific genre, being science fiction. But I kind of class it as a separate genre compared to sci-fi. So I've got sci-fi and then I've got post-apocalyptic. Same with, I think, what else is there? Romance and drama kind of go hand in hand as well, so I've separated them. I haven't got a drama because I don't watch dramas that often, and I didn't want to just put in Shawshank Redemption or The Green Mile just to fill it out. So I haven't really got a favorite drama film, so I've kind of left drama off. If I was going to select a drama, just for the sake of this video, probably the last one that I watched would be The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster. I thought it was a phenomenal film, but it's not a film that I would say is my favourite film in that genre. I have one for World. Now, one of the films that I've written is a film that I don't actually own. My brother owns it on Blu-ray, so I'm not really going to go with that one. I'm going to go with one that I actually do have, and it's a film that introduced me to a lot of world cinema at a specific time in my life. So, I'm going to start with World, and then we'll move on, we'll move through that. So the first film that I am going to choose for world cinema, and there are a lot of films that cover world cinema because it is the world. The first one I'm going to choose is Kinji Fukasaku's Battle Royale. This is a film that kind of introduced me to films in a foreign language. There was a few. There was this one and Run Lola Run, and the movie Taxi, the French film Taxi. But there was something about Battle Royale that kind of hit a specific chord for me. And it's a film that's always stuck with me. I've seen it multiple times. The atmosphere and the aesthetic of the film is like peak 2000s, but also the premise very much is on par with like Most Dangerous Game, the classic late 30s sort of adventure movie, which has then kind of been remade multiple times since, like what was it, the Condemned with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and to a degree sort of copied a little bit, I guess, with the Hunger Games, although I'm not going to go into all that. But yeah, Battle Royale is a film that kind of holds a significant point in my life where I was kind of reintroduced, or introduced, should I say, to world cinema. And yeah, it's a great movie. The one that I was going to choose was the movie Swing Girls. But again, it's a film that I don't necessarily own myself. My brother owns it on Blu-ray, and I didn't want to add something that I don't technically own. So I went with Battle Royale instead. But if you haven't seen Swing Girls, I highly recommend checking that out as well. But Battle Royale, incredible movie. Takeshi Kitano is also in this. He plays the teacher, who's kind of the man responsible for taking these kids to an island and having them kill each other off one by one. So basically what happens is it's at a time in very, very near future, almost sort of dystopian in a way, where they have no respect for adults, and there's no real way to kind of control these out of control teenagers, like kids. There's no respect for authority. They're just basically becoming feral in a sense. And so the government comes up with this initiative called the BR Initiative, which stands for the Battle Royale Initiative, where it sees a group of teenagers taken to an island and forced to kill each other off. It's a very interesting film in its themes, and even the direction is incredible. It was Kinji Fukasaku's final full-length movie. He did start the sequel, but unfortunately passed away during, I think it was maybe pre-production on that film, and his son, I think it was Kenta Fukasaku, took over. But as a final movie for a legendarily renowned Japanese filmmaker like Kinji Fukasaku, Battle Royale is one hell of a film to class as your last movie. Incredible film. Then we move on to Thriller. Thriller was a really difficult one to narrow down, because a lot of action movies and a lot of horror films can also fall into the category of thriller. So I was trying to think of a film that really grabs me when it comes to a film that is thrilling. Could it be like In the Name? Is it In the Name? What was the film that Clint Eastwood made, where he's the Secret Service agent and he had to protect the president from John Malkovich's crazy guy? But I couldn't really. I have that, but I can't remember where it is. So it was very difficult for me to narrow down a specific thriller that I like, because one that I rewatch all the time. Because I don't really watch a lot of thrillers. I watch a lot of action films. But like I said, they can sort of fall into the same category. So for thriller, I chose 1995's Hackers with Johnny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie. Also stars Fisher Stevens and Lorraine Bracco. I have watched this movie countless times. It has an incredible soundtrack that features music from The Prodigy and I think it's Apollo 440. Just really, really good. I started watching this at a time where my taste in music started to change, and I wanted to become a skateboarder, and this was just like, the fashion at the time was really, really cool. It's still pretty fucking cool now. But yeah, I mean, it's about a teen hacker played by a mid to late 28-year-old who gets in with a group of other hackers when he moves to New York to start school, and how they find that there's a big company that are sort of defrauding by what's the word for it? It's difficult to explain, but they're kind of blamed for the sinking of a tanker that has been hit with a virus, and it's up to them to then like sort of prove their innocence by doing the crime of hacking and exposing the actual person behind it. I love this movie, and yeah, Hackers is just a great, fun, thrilling, fast-paced 90s thriller that is, yeah, I love it. And I kind of want to watch this now again because it's so good. Right. Crime. Again, crime, this is really hard because I watch a lot of crime films. I've watched Like I was trying to think of which crime films I've gone back to multiple times. Now it was a toss up between three. It was a toss up between this one, Michael Mann's Heat, and also Michael Mann's Thief. But when I really thought about it, I've watched Heat all the way through properly maybe once. And Thief I've only seen twice. However, this film I have seen about 10 times. And it's Quentin Tarantino's first movie, Reservoir Dogs. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, it's not a crime film. Well, yes, it is a crime film. It's kind of quintessential crime movies. It's about a bank robbery that, well, let's say a bank robbery, a jewelry store robbery, and the aftermath and fallout of them realizing that they have a rat within their group. It's sort of a dissection of that sort of, what's the word for it? That sort of crime, but it's a crime film without the crime, and it's all about how they deal with stuff post-heist. It's such a good film. It's so well written, so well directed, so well acted, and considering this was Tarantino's first movie, it's just incredible. Like the soundtrack is amazing. Definitely my go-to crime film. I was actually torn between this or Pulp Fiction, but I thought I love Pulp Fiction, and I've seen Pulp Fiction again probably as many times as I've seen Reservoir Dogs. But Pulp Fiction, while it is, you could technically say it's a crime film, this is an actual crime film. It is a film that deals with a crime that has happened. But yeah, Reservoir Dogs is incredible. I love it. Then we have Western. This wasn't that hard, because I think I've talked about how much I think this is possibly my favorite Western of all time, and I love a lot of Westerns. But the more I watch this film, the more I notice little details that I may have lost or may have missed the first time. I could have chosen The Magnificent Seven, which I adore. I could have chosen The Searchers. I could have chosen Quick and the Dead, Sam Raimi's Quick and the Dead. But I chose this because it's so good, and it blows my mind every time I watch it. And I've seen this film about 6 times now, and every time I watch it, like I said, I pick up little things that I may have missed the last time. And it's Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, about a former gunslinger stroke outlaw who left the life behind to raise a family, and is inevitably drawn back into the world of outlawing and gunslinging when he is hired by a group of prostitutes in a town to get revenge for a cowboy basically cutting up another prostitute's face, and how he slowly just falls back into the routine that he had in his criminal days. There's a very good, he makes a point that he doesn't drink throughout the movie until something happens, and you just don't even think about it. He just starts drinking, and the fact that you see him falling back into these ways is also not just really, really well written, but it's also really great character development. And the fact that it's not something you click with the first time you see it just shows the versatility and how good an actor Clint actually is. It's brilliantly directed by Clint Eastwood. The cast in this is phenomenal. Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, the late Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, and Richard Harris. Like, you cannot get a better cast of 80s to 90s older generation, like, gods. Richard Harris, fantastic. Morgan Freeman was probably at the start of his career rise. He had done a lot of stuff prior to this, but I think this was when they kind of really put him on the map. Gene Hackman is just phenomenal in anything that he does. I don't think I've ever seen Gene Hackman in a bad performance, not even in bad films that he is in, like Superman 4. He is the best thing in Superman 4 Quest for Peace, which is a horrendously bad movie. But yeah, Unforgiven is just a phenomenal movie, and I think if you've not watched Westerns before, this is a great place to start. Then we have action movies. Now, because I watch a lot of action movies, and my second favourite genre of all time is action, and I know a lot about action films. I know I know a lot of stuff about like 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, up to now action films, but also the DTV, so the direct-to-video action films and the VOD action films with people like Scott Adkins and Tony Jaa and who else is there? Movies directed by Jesse V. Johnson and Isaac Florentine, who aren't really well-known names, but they are making some of the best action films outside of studio systems. This film, while you could also class it as a thriller, it is technically an action film because it has stunt work and it has action sequences in it, and it has a very fast pace. And it is 1998's Ronin, starring Robert De Niro and Jean Reno. This film, the first time I saw it, I did not like it. I didn't understand it. I found it boring. I found it confusing. And it just wasn't for me. Cut to a few years later, maybe 5-6 years later, I try it again. My feelings on the film instantly change. I got it. I understood it. I got the sort of aesthetic that they were going for. I got the plot. I understood John Frankenheimer's incredible direction on this. Like one of the most understated Robert De Niro performances ever in this. It's endlessly quotable. The car chases are possibly the greatest car chase sequences ever filmed. I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, but what about Bullet? No, Bullet is the first car chase sequence that is filmed without using back projection. It is very, very important for a modern American stunt work. However, the car chases in Ronin are incredible. The way that they shot them is just out of this world. It's phenomenal. And the fact that they shot them on these really, really thin streets in Nice and in where is it? Marseille and places around France. But then you have to also look at the cast in this is Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, Natasha McElhone, Stellan Skarsgård, Sean Bean, Jonathan Pryce. Richard, directed by John Frankenheimer, story by J.D. Zeik, screenplay by J.D. Zeik and Richard Weisz. Richard Weisz is the pseudonym for the writer-director David Mamet, who basically rewrote the script that was written by J.D. Zeik, which is it's an alright script, but David Mamet's rewrite is incredible. The reason he uses it as a different name was because he wanted to retain sole screenplay credit, but because of obviously the Writers Guild would not allow him to do that because it was originally written by J.D. Zeik, he had to he refused to have his name on the screenplay, so he went under a pseudonym of Richard Weisz. This film is so good. It's just, I love it. There was one year where I watched this once a month for 12 months, and I still absolutely adore this film. It's so good. The music is incredible by Ilya Simorol. Just so good. And there's the action sequence towards the start where you could call it the case snatch, where they're just racing through the streets of Marseille, or is it Marseille? Oh no, it's Paris. Sorry, I thought it was Marseille, because they move further into France, or more towards southern France. The back of this says the film evokes the same gritty milieu as a classic 70s crime fare like The French Connection, which it does. It very much does. In addition to anticipating the early 21st century trend towards more grounded, realistic action movies, which clearly didn't last very long, exemplified by the likes of the Bourne franchise, Arrow Video is proud to present Ronin in a brand new cinematographer-approved 4K restoration. If you've never seen Ronin, I highly recommend checking this film out. This is probably my third favourite film of all time. It is in my top 5 films of all time, which also have... I also have another one of my top 5 films of all time in this list. But yeah, Ronin, just a phenomenal movie. One of the best action films I've ever seen. My favourite action film. Then I decided to go with adventure. I added adventure into this list because there are a lot of films that are classed as action, and there are a lot of films that are classed as adventure. So there is action-adventure. And mainly because I like to separate action like Ronin from something like these films. So you've got adventure movies like the Tomb Raider films, the Uncharted movie, Romancing the Stone, Jewel in the Nile, and what was the other? The National Treasure movie. These are what I would class as adventure films. And the reason that I've added adventure films in, because I could not put this under action and leave out Ronin, because I wanted to include this movie, and adventure was the only way that I could actually do that. So the reason I included adventure is so I could include Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. People will say, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the better film. It might very well be the better film, but for me, The Last Crusade has absolutely everything. It has the perfect score. It has the perfect story. It has the perfect performances, the perfect dialogue, the perfect cinematography. Everything about The Last Crusade just works so beautifully. And even the ending, they should never have made any more than 3 Indiana Jones films. Let's see if I can find The Last Crusade. Is it the one on the back? Yes, there we are. The Last Crusade. No, that's not The Last Crusade. That's The Last Crusade. There we go. The Last Crusade with Monsieur Indiana Jones, Monsieur Henry Jones Sr., Alison Doody as Elsa. Yeah, you just cannot beat Indiana Jones. It's like the original 3 are probably... Now, this is coming from someone that says Back to the Future 2 is his favourite film, and I absolutely stick by that thing of Back to the Future 2 being my favourite film of all time. However, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, the original 3 movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, is probably the best 80s film trilogy, which is why I had to include The Last Crusade in this top films in certain genres, because I wanted to just talk about how much just talk about how good it is and how easy they are to watch. And as it's a bank holiday, you normally find Indiana Jones on TV on bank holiday, but yeah, I did not want to leave this out of action to include this, so I included this as adventure. So Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. is top tips in my eyes. Now we move on to comedy. Now, comedy, I like a lot of comedy movies. I watch a lot of comedy. But I don't own a lot of comedy movies. I mostly watch comedy through streaming services. Like every film that I've watched this week has been through one of maybe 4 different streaming services. However, the reason I don't own a lot of comedy movies on physical is because they're not films that I find myself returning to too often. I do have a lot of them on DVD, but I didn't want to go through all the DVD bags just to pull out the sleeve. But there is one film that I saw for the first time in 1999, and it kind of set my sense of humour to that level for the foreseeable since 1999. And it's a film by it's a film by David Zucker. And it's a very silly film. But it's the movie Basketball. Now, this film is essentially quoted daily between me and my brother. This and like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which having this, I was torn between Hot Fuzz and Basketball. Now, the reason I chose Basketball is because I am a massive, huge South Park fan. On the stand just over there, I have every season of South Park up to season 20, including the limited edition Cult of Cartman box set, which I don't think you can get anymore. But the fact that this is Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and it feels like 99.9% of the script that they taught, or the dialogue that they do, is almost improvised. It's so good and so funny. This also introduced me to bands that I would go on to love, like Smash Mouth, and most specifically Real Big Fish, because they have a song in this called Beer, which was kind of my introduction to ska punk as a how old was I? 17-year-old 16-year-old in 1999. But yeah, I can watch this film over and over and over and over and over and never ever get bored of it. I was going to actually include South Park the movie in this, but I don't know where the Blu-ray is. I think it might still be in storage, so I didn't want to go through all the boxes to pull them out. So I decided I'd go with Basketball because it is probably, along with South Park the movie, my equal favourite comedy of all time. Yeah, Basketball. Love it. And as a bonus, you get Robert Vaughn playing a villain, which is a slimy villain, which he does marvelously. So, from comedy to horror. Now, I see a lot of people will probably be choosing the same movie. I think Jodie and Roy chose the same film as well, with The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist. However, it's not a film that I am as crazy about as other people. I mean, I really do like it. I've got the 4K and I've got the limited edition. I've got a box set up on the top there, I think. That might still be in storage. I don't know. However, this film that I've chosen, and I've talked about this film before and I've shown it before, there is a reason why that I chose this film. It's because this is my favourite horror film of all time. I saw this for the first time through a recorded VHS from UK Gold here in the UK. And it was on one Halloween when I was maybe about 15. It was on UK Gold late at night. I set the VCR to record it. And I'd never really seen a horror film prior to watching this film. So this was kind of my introduction to horror cinema. And I didn't know anything about the director. I didn't know anything about the film that came before this or the film that came after it. All I knew is that this was a zombie film. And I'd never seen a zombie film before. I think the closest I got to horror was probably The Lost Boys, being a vampire film, but it's not really... I don't know, could you really class it as a horror film? But this film changed my film perspective when it came to horror movies, and this is what got me into watching a lot of horror. And it's George Romero's 1978 classic Dawn of the Dead. there is something about this movie that just makes me happy every time I watch it. I don't know if it's the nostalgia of because of the where this film stands in my cinematic history, if you know what I mean. But I watch this every year Halloween, and I enjoy it every time. I generally watch the director's cut. Is it the extended cut? Yes, it's the extended cut, the extended can cut, which is the one that I tend to find myself drawn to. I prefer watching films if they're longer, so I will watch like Alien director's cut, the Abyss director's cut, and the films that will extend the runtime of a movie by making it more interesting, if you know what I mean. So the extended can cut of Dawn of the Dead is the film version that I watch. I have seen the Argento cut. I wasn't that fussed on that. I think it cut out way too much of the dialogue between Roger, Fran, and Peter and Stephen. But this is just... This would also actually fit under post-apocalyptic, but yeah, I love this film so much, and I'm so glad that it's in this really fancy second sight release. I don't have the big purple 4K one because that was ridiculously expensive. This was $24.99, and I'm so happy that I have it. I love it, and yeah, that's why that is my pick for horror. Right, so moving on, we have. Right, this I'm going to put under drama and romance. Oh, I could have put it. Could I? Because I suppose two of these films could go under drama and romance. I watch a lot of romantic... Well, I have been watching a lot of romantic comedies. I've been on a romantic comedy kick. Everything I've watched, though, has been on streaming services because I don't tend to collect romantic comedy movies. But there's also romantic dramas and stuff. And I don't own a lot. I own a handful, maybe. But this film I have two versions of. Now, there is a reason why I have multiple versions of this one film. This was one of my mother's favourite films. It was the films one of the films she used to put on all the time when we were kids, when she did ironing and stuff. It's a film that I have kind of seen more times than I probably should have as a straight white male. And it's 1987's Dirty Dancing. Now, I know that Jodie and Roy both chose Titanic. Titanic is a exceptionally well-made, technically well-made film. It's boring, no. It's boring. Titanic's boring. You know what's going to happen. It's going to fucking sink. But Dirty Dancing, there is something about Dirty Dancing. Maybe it's the music. Maybe it's my absolute undying love for Patrick Swayze. But there's just something about this film that just makes me happy. And every time I watch it, it just kind of reminds me of my mum. And like every time I listen to the soundtrack, again, it reminds me of my mum. Which is why I own this version. This is the 30th anniversary edition. And I've also got I think it's the 25th anniversary edition, which came out prior to it. But yeah, I mean, I love this film. I can watch this over and over again, and yeah, I mean, what more can I say? It's Dirty Dancing. It's just a really great romantic drama. Where are we? We are on to musicals. Again, I don't have a lot of musicals, which is weird because I grew up in a house where my dad was a huge fan of the old Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals like South Pacific and Oklahoma and those type of films, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and even as far back earlier than that in the 1930s and 1940s, the Busby Berkeley, like 42nd Street stuff. But there was always one musical that stood out to me than all the others that I watched. Now, I could have chosen Grease 2. I decided not to choose Grease 2. I could have chosen that as a guilty pleasure. The reason I didn't choose Grease 2, even though it's one of my favourite like musical movies, is because this film actually trumps that 100%. And it's just... It's Singing in the Rain. Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds, co-directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen. It is a marvellous, marvellous musical. Every single bit of dancing and choreography is so meticulously choreographed and practiced and rehearsed and spot on that you can't help but watch this film in awe. The music is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. The script is funny. It's dramatic. It's just great. Even like Gene Kelly is the main star of this. Debbie Reynolds is the second co-lead. I don't know what, but I say I don't know. I like the fact that Donald O'Connor is second billed. However, he is essentially third billed. But the interaction between Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly as friends who work on these big Hollywood movies. He plays, is it Guy Lamont? No, it's Lena Lamont is the name of the character played by Gene Hagen. There we go. Is it Gary Lockwood? I think it might be Gary Lockwood. Or Jerry Lockwood. God, I've forgotten now. But yeah, Singing in the Rain is just so good. I don't even know which version this is. I bought this years ago on Blu-ray. This was released in 2012. This Blu-ray's from 2012. I know there's been different Blu-rays since, but this one's perfectly fine for me. And yeah, so I just... This has got everything. It's got comedy, it's got romance, it's got music, it's got action, it's got stunt work in it. It's just amazing. And not only is it a good musical and a good romantic film, it's also a really good look at how films were made in the 1930s and 1940s. Just so good. It ranks number 10 on the American Film Institute's 100 Best Animated American Films. Just so good. So yeah, Singing in the Rain is my favourite musical. Favourite war movie? Now, this one was hard to do because I am a huge World War II fan, and I have watched so many this year. Some of them I watched for the first time, like what was it? Midway, which was I watched quite recently, which I wasn't that fussed on, but I could not narrow down which one to choose as my favourite war film. It was so difficult. So I choose The Longest Day, Saving Private Ryan. What else was there? The Bridge on the River Kwai, which is such a fantastic film. Lawrence of Arabia, again, is another huge film. Too Late, the Hero, which was on my list. Just Where Eagles Dare, The Dirty Dozen. I could not nail it down until I remembered Bridge Too Far. Bridge Too Far is a movie you don't see anymore. It is so epic in scope and technicality behind how they made this film. They basically recreated Operation Market Garden that happened, which was a sort of cock-up in logistics and timings and stuff during World War II, which was the invasion of, I think is it Arnhem? Yeah, it's called one of the biggest military gambles in history, Operation Market Garden. It's directed by not Anthony Hopkins, Richard Attenborough, and it stars Anthony Hopkins, but it also stars, God, there's so many people. Sean Connery, Anthony Hopkins, Robert Redford, Laurence Olivier, Michael Caine, James Caan, Dirk Bogarde, Sean Connery, Edward Fox, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman, Anthony Hopkins, Hardy Kruger, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neill, Robert Redford, Maximilian Schell, Liv Ullmann. It goes on and on and on and on. But this is such a technically well-made film. The battle sequences, which they actually shot in Arnhem and... I can't remember the other bridge now. They actually shot in the same location. So the people who had sort of lived through the invasion and Operation Market Garden, who lived in Finland or Holland, is it? Finland or Holland? I can't remember. Netherlands. Basically, the ones that survived basically had to witness a Hollywood production recreating what they saw 40 years prior. It's a genuinely just great movie. Bridge Too Far, just so good. Great music as well. Who did the music? John Addison. There we go. So it's A Bridge Too Far. It's a favourite war film. Favourite animated movie. Again, this was really hard. I was going to put South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut in this, but I think it's in a box, so I went with my second favourite animated movie of all time, and it is the movie Akira from Katsuhiro Otomo, who probably made one of the most influential science fiction animated movies of all time. Also one of the most influential anime movies of all time. Akira, a cyberpunk dystopian what the fuck movie that still to this day blows my mind every time I watch it. How they animated it, how it was, because it was animated at a higher frame rate, so it was animated at 30 frames per second instead of 24 frames per second, which is the usual frame rate for any sort of film thing. But this is the reason they this looks so smooth, and kind of the animation is just so crisp and so fantastic and just mind-blowingly awesome, is because of the high frame rate in which they shot. They sort of animated Akira. Also, they went over budget and just, yeah, like crunch. And the interesting thing is, I was talking to my brother about this, because my brother is a huge anime fan. And he was telling me that the movie only really adapts the first 2 books of the Akira manga. And I think it's 6 books in total. So the fact that this is only the first 2 books and tells a coherent... I say coherent. It's Akira. It's not coherent. It's a fucking mindfuck. The fact that they managed to tell a narrative from start to finish and have everything in this film based on only the first 2 volumes of the manga is insane. But yeah, the animation on this is incredible, and the bike skid sequence has been copied multiple times. Only ever once in live action in the movie Nope by Jordan Peele. But yeah, it's been parodied in everything from Pokemon to The Simpsons to Lego movies, I guess. But yeah, Akira is amazing. Just incredible. We're on to the last 2 now, so I won't keep you any much longer. Won't keep you any longer. So, sci-fi. Sci-fi was probably the hardest one to choose. I suppose it wasn't the hardest one to choose. It was probably the easiest one to choose, actually. Because I'm a huge sci-fi nerd and a huge sci-fi fan, I could have chosen so many movies. But the reason I chose this film is because, let's face it, it is probably the best science fiction film ever made. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Directed by Irving Kershner. Written by Lawrence Kasdan, music by John Williams, story and executive production by the mastermind that is George Lucas, starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, James Earl Jones, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. This is the this is the 2-disc limited edition with the original theatrical version in non-restored 4x3, which looks awful, but it is the original theatrical version. I'm not going to really talk too much about Empire Strikes Back because it's fucking Empire Strikes Back. It is the best sci-fi movie ever made. Yeah. And finally, this is my choice for post-apocalyptic movies. This was actually quite difficult because post-apocalypse is my favourite subgenre of science fiction. I've done the whole, I say the whole, I haven't fucking finished it yet. I did a lot of work and research into post-apocalyptic cinema from very, very early 1930s up until now, which I was posting videos of. So I've watched a hell of a lot of movies, and this was really difficult to pin down, so I've actually chosen 2 movies. One of these is, I'm assuming a lot of people would probably agree, the other one will probably be very, what's the word for it? Divisive. But there are reasons why I chose the second film. The first film is because it is generally considered the greatest post-apocalyptic movie of all time. And it is Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, or The Road Warrior. This is the 4K release. Yeah, Mad Max 2. I'm not going to go too much about this. Incredible movie. Just like mind-blowing stunt work. Fucking action. Beautifully paced. Shot really well by George Miller. Just it's Mad Max. It's Road Warrior. It's Road Warrior. So this is why the one I chose, the one that I was. It's the obvious choice. Obviously. Why am I saying obviously so much? But the second film that I chose, and I know this is probably what's going to be quite divisive, but it's a film that kind of influenced me when I was writing a screenplay about the end of the world, which I wrote. Part 1 and Part 2, about 128 pages per script, over a course of a month, and this was a massive influence on my idea, my writing, and I know this was a huge flop, and a lot of people really disliked this movie, but it came out in 1997, and it was directed by Kevin Costner, and it's The Postman. And I absolutely adore this film. I think it is unfairly bashed. It does have a bit of cringiness to it, but it's a very pro-American movie. But when you really watch it, and you watch like from start to finish, what we are actually watching is a Western that is set after the West and after the end of civilization. And I think that it's just a fantastic film that is unfairly bashed, unfairly maligned, and one that I think there are quite a few people who sort of on rewatching, they kind of reappraise their thoughts on The Postman and kind of realise that it isn't really anywhere near as bad as what they originally thought. The cinematography on this film is fucking gorgeous as well. The landscapes, this is what I mean, this is a Western, this is like Dances with Wolves in the post-apocalyptic landscape of America. But yeah, it's so good. It's Kevin Costner, Will Patton, Lorenz Tate, Olivia Williams, James Russo, Tom Petty shows up in this. I prefer this to Waterworld, but I love Waterworld anyway as well. But The Postman, was, like I said, it was massively influential when I was writing my film script. Because there's different groups of people like nomads and stuff in post-apocalyptic Britain in my script, but this was screenplay by Eric Roth and Brian Helgeland, which is really interesting. based on the novel by David Brin. It's very different to the novel by David Brin. David Brin's The Postman kind of concerns an AI. There are no AI in this. This is more about bringing hope to a devastated world in the face of danger from a militia, a right-wing militia. But yeah, I absolutely fucking love this movie. So that is my post-apocalyptic choice. And there we are. That is my comedy genre world. That is the top films in each genre. Reply to Blue Roy Movies. Thank you all for watching. I want to see what you think in the comments below, and let me know, and I will see you all soon. So my name is Pedro. This is Pedro's Movie Cavern. I'm going to give you a salute, throw up the peace sign, and I'm going to tell you that I'm out. Thanks, everyone. Hope you had a great Easter. Peace.